Statues are coming down and coming down hard. We have had many taken down, toppled by angry mobs of people, mostly in their 20s and 30s, who think that it is their job to right the wrongs of the past. You cannot fix what people who are long dead did, especially if it was against people that are also long dead. There have been statues of Abraham Lincoln defaced because he's apparently now a white supremacist. The lunatic's favorite boogeyman, Columbus, was obviously defaced because the historically illiterate have no time to do research on a man. To them, he was white, and he was technologically more advanced than the natives, ergo, he was a racist and slave owner. Facts be damned. Like the facts that he worked with the natives, explicitly told his men to not harm them, and had ones that did hanged. But recently, as I write this, I have heard that they have torn down a statue of Frederick Douglass. For those of you that don't know, Frederick Douglass was a 19th century abolitionist. He was a slave who escaped bondage and attained freedom and started on his journey to eradicate slavery. I'm trying to not care about politics and am trying to look at these things more through the social and cultural lenses, so I don't want to bring up Republican versus Democrat, because when over half of all Republicans are really Democrats, it really doesn't matter anyway. But there's more going on here than what political parties you subscribe to. This doesn't have anything to do with truth, justice, or anything. This is about chaos. Tearing down of statues, specifically religious ones, is called iconoclasm. The destruction of icons specifically being images of Jesus, but it is also used to refer to the destruction of secular works as well. We've seen the destruction of everything from books to statues to paintings and even architecture as a symbolic and, to an extent, physical subjugation and destruction of a culture by another. Whether it's Nazi Germany wiping out the Poles' history, the Russians destroying churches and massacring lay and clergy, Mao and his gang in China, and countless others throughout the blood-stained tapestry that is human history. It is what is called cultural genocide. Uh-oh, there's the G word. Cultural genocide is a term coined in 1944 by Raphael Lemkin, a lawyer. Cultural genocide, unlike traditional genocide, is, as the name suggests, the destruction of cultural symbols. It can be part of a genocide, the actual displacement and killing of certain ethnicities, but they can be separate. So why would elements in society, past and present, do this? Well, think about your own home. You have things on your walls, pictures, paintings, ornaments, etc. You have bookcases and beds and sports equipment and televisions and all other things that are, well, yours. They indicate that that is your house, your home. You and your family are the culture of that house. Now, what happens when you move? You pack up everything and move it on out, and you're left with a completely empty house. Unless you've left some sort of permanent mark on the wall or something to indicate you had been there once, the moment the next family moves in, no one would know you'd ever lived there. It's what they call a Year Zero, the 1975 takeover of Cambodia by the Khmer Rouge, which is itself a reference to the French Revolution's Year One, a resetting point where the past is erased and the new culture takes over as if the old one never existed, which tends to lead to many, many deaths of the former culture. Both the Khmer Rouge and the French revolutionists attempted to destroy their past by eradicating symbols of the previous culture, such as churches and the monarchy in France, and mass executions, which happened in both. But these Marxists, and yes, the French Revolution was a Marxist revolution, it just wasn't called that because Marx hadn't codified what we now know as Marxism. What they do, by destroying cultural symbols, is to do exactly the same thing as when you pack up a house and move. Effectively, if you don't have any symbols to prove it's yours, it's not yours. I'm going to use the words eradicate and erase as regards these statues from here on out, instead of take down, because there are legitimate reasons why a statue can be taken down. If a city decides by itself that they want it down and the public is all in agreement, then I don't necessarily have a problem with that, although that type of situation is probably a pretty rare one. But what's happening now isn't agreed upon dismantling of a statue for good reason. Is this a cultural genocide we're witnessing with the toppling of these statues? Probably not at the moment. While it's widespread and right now frequent, it's not unified by an idea, at least not truly. This isn't state power doing this is anarchy. I don't doubt that there is more to this than just angry people. Black Lives Matter obviously has a role in this, and they are openly Marxist, so there is that. But is it going to lead to more than just riots? Only time will tell. It's a sad state of affairs for our country, though, when we have people pulling down the statues of black abolitionists thinking they're fighting white supremacy. And many who don't seem to know much about this, those who know that Columbus was evil, even though they probably can't tell you anything about what he did, truly, from a real scholarly historical standpoint, try to defend these people's actions. I was talking to someone about a conversation they had with someone else who was saying that the statue shouldn't have been put up in the first place. Here's 2 questions. Was the statue offensive to you for as long as you've been alive? Because it was probably there before you were born. When did it become offensive? When did you realize that inanimate bronze or marble or steel was as evil as it is? And even if it is a statue of someone who has done wrong and was put up for not so good reasons, why do we care? None of what Robert E. Lee fought for came to full fruition. And from my own readings, Lee was, while not exactly an abolitionist, was not exactly a steadfast believer in slavery either. He was a man of his time, trying to figure out the best way to deal with what was on his plate. Did he own slaves? Yes. So did many people in the South, including black people. There were black plantation owners. Some have called slavery, and by extension, racism, America's original sin. I think that's a good way to put it, because by extension, America and the whole human race has a sin problem. And, especially as a Catholic, I get original sin. But original sin can be washed away. There may still be wounds, but as the old saying goes, time heals all wounds. We've had plenty of time from the end of slavery and Jim Crow for those wounds to heal. So let's stop tearing down statues. Let's stop picking at the scar tissue.